my understanding it's your intention to play the prize for the degree of Scholler in the Academy of Medieval Martial Arts today.
Yes, I'm ready.
Are you ready for the challenge?
Yes, I'm ready.
Have you studied?
Yes, I studied.
Have you practiced?
Yes, I practiced.
Have you fenced?
Yes, I fenced.
Your teacher, Dave Murphy, Provost Dave Murphy is going to be running the test today. All the free scholars and scholars in the circle may be asking you questions at any point along the way. And should you be successful in the first portions of the test, then you will face this circle in free play for the longsword. You ready for that?
Yes.
Okay, let's go.
All right, so your test is going to have, we're going to start off with some questions about theory. You will then need to demonstrate to us footwork, some grappling, dagger, sword, one of the sword in two hands. Right?
Yes.
Okay, so how would you like to start off with telling us what's Emma all about, what's our mission, what do we do?
The mission stated of Emma is to reproduce the skills, knowledge, and equipment of a medieval swordsman. We study the works of Fiore de Liberi and George Silver with Fiore de Liberi. He was born in approximately 1340 to 1350, and over 50 years he trained under many different Italian and German masters, notably Johannes Sevenus. And he was also in charge of artillery and crossbowmen in 1383 at the city of Udine. And he trained at least 7 different students that are known to have survived duels. And he had to fight 5 duels with masters. These were masters he did not wish to train. And then in 1400, he entered into the court of the Marquis of Ferrara, Niccolo il Deste, who asked him to write a manuscript of what he knew of the art. We know of 4 manuscripts of Fiore de Liberi's work entitled Flaus Duelatorium, Flower of Battle. They are named after the libraries in which they're kept. They're called the Morgan, the Beatty, Sonny Dossi, and the MSS Latin. The Morgan lacks sections of the wrestling and the dagger plays. The Getty is more comprehensive, and we study that the most. Sonny Dossi has rhyming couplets and animated illustrations, and then the MSS Latin has some colored illustrations as well. We study Fiore de Liberi's works because they are the earliest medieval martial arts manuscript with a comprehensive, battle-tested set of plays across wrestling, dagger, sword, spear, and poleaxe, where the body mechanics and the logic between the plays can be cross-compared from the different sections for the different weapon styles.
Okay, excellent. Well, I think that covers most of Fiore, except for we have something up behind us here, which we refer to a lot. Would you like to explain the significance of this to the art and what we study?
Yes, the signifage with the 4 animals and the 7 swords is the heart of the art. The 4 animals are the elephant, castle on the back, which is fortito, stability and strength. The lion with the heart, audatio, which is courage, bravery, and the willingness to place yourself in harm. The tiger with the arrow, which is swiftness and I believe it's celeritas. The lynx with the sextant, which is prudentia, knowledge and wisdom. And I believe that's all 4 of the animals. Then the 7 swords represent the 7 strikes. Fendente, from teeth to knees on the right or the left. Mezzani, a horizontal cut between eyes and elbows on the left or the right. Satani, a rising cut from knees to teeth on the left or the right. And the cruel and deadly thrust.
Okay, we also study one other historical manuscript in particular. Could you tell us who and why we use it?
We also study the works of George Silver, a 16th century English swordsman who was upset at the number of English swordsmen that were dying when using the Italian rapier techniques. He wrote a manuscript in 1599 entitled Paradoxes of Defense, and he also later wrote a second manuscript, Introduction to my brief introduction to my Paradoxes of Defense. And in George Silver's work, he describes the language of how to stay safe through the principles of the true fight, true times, the grounds, and the governors. the principle of the true fight, is to fight in true time, to force your opponent to fight in false times, so that you may stay safe and strike him without him striking in return. The true times are time of the hand body, time of the hand body foot, time of the hand body feet, and false times are any other combinations. The true times allows you to stay safe and present a threat without being struck in return. The four grounds are judgment, distance, time, and place. We remember these as the judgment allows you to keep the distance to stay safe, which allows you to gain the time to stay safe, which allows you to gain the place to strike without being struck. In more detail, judgment is the knowledge of yourself and your opponent, your weapons, your age, your experience, your fitness levels. Distance is the relative distance between yourself and your opponent. Time is the time of your actions between yourself and your opponent. And place is the location on your opponent where you can strike without being struck in return. These concepts are built upon in the governors. There are four governors: judgment, measure, pressing in, and flying out. Judgment encompasses all four of the grounds: a knowledge of yourself and your opponent, whereas measure is the ability to determine how to gain the time and the place to stay safe. And then pressing in and flying out are combined concepts where you have the duality of committing fully to an attack, while within an instant's notice being able to fully and quickly retreat out of harm's way.
I think the only other part of the theory is the parts of the sword, but we could, well, you have a sword. I'll let you know.
This is a sword. This is my sword. The sword has the blade and the hilt. The blade is composed of the weak, the middle, and the strong, with the blade extending through the tang into the pommel. The blade has a true edge along the knuckles and a false edge along the thumb. The blade also has, the sword also has a balance point, approximately 3 to 4 inches out from the hilt in this plane. And it's also symmetrical along the vertical axis. The hilt has a crossguard, grip, and a pommel. Some swords have a ricasso, an unsharpened edge, along the strong of the blade. Some swords also have a fuller for lightness, strength, and flexibility. The swords, when you hit the pommel, you also see a location without vibration approximately a third of the way along the sword. This is a percussion point. There's a corresponding percussion point in the hilt, so that theoretically you have the most amount of energy delivered to your opponent when you strike at that point. But of course, we strike our opponent with any part of the sword or weapon that we may hold. This is the sword.
Okay. All right. Excellent. I think we can move on. Do you want to just sit your swords to the side? Okay, so footwork. Could you describe our basic stance, and then the 3 volta and any other steps that we have? So first tell us about them, and then you can show us putting them all together.
So our basic stance is 1 shoulder's width wide, 1.5 to 2 shoulders width long, with our front foot pointing our target, with our elephant on our castle, with our head over our shoulders, over our hips, always, with our knee, our front knee over our toe, so we have 60% of our weight on our front foot, 40% of our weight on our back foot, with our back foot off at about a 45-degree angle. Our 3 turns are volta delay, where we rotate backwards into a refute position with 60% of our weight on our back foot, 40% of our weight on our front foot, and our head and shoulders still aligned with our target. Our next turn is a mezzo volta, or a half turn, a passing step, where we land on the balls of our feet and then turn our back foot out 45 degrees. So that now we switch our fight, or inside from the right over to the left. The third turn is our tutto volta, where we load our weight onto one foot and then turn around behind us in order to change our position. Those are the 3 turns. The steps that we have available other than the passing step are the increasing step, where we can step forward onto the ball of our foot and bring our back foot up in order to change our distance. We can also decrease the distance between our feet and then advance out. Another step that we have is the traversing step, where if we want to traverse around an opponent In keyboard distance, we can step off the line. Another step that we have is the slip, where we bring our front foot back towards our back foot. This is specifically used when defending against a Satani upward rising cut, or when we're defending against avoiding an attack when someone is trying to attack our leg, so then we can hit them on the head. I would like to demonstrate these in combination now.
Okay. Okay, before we get into some wrestling, can you show us the four posta numbers?
Four posta of wrestling are iron gate, frontale, these go well together for smash or grab and throwing to the ground. Longa, can be open hand for a strike, and boar's tooth, these also go well together for a strike or a block, and then a strike.
Okay. And can you show us some footwork where you also change between the wrestling posta? So when you're moving this way, stop for a second. Did the times matter? The times you discussed earlier from George Silver?
Yes,
Okay. How?
you must always use true time to present a threat before you bring a target into distance.
Okay. So can I see those posted again, keeping true time in mind for you? Does anyone have anything they want to ask just before we move on?
Yes. What are the 7 things that wrestling needs?
The 7 requirements of wrestling are strength, speed, knowledge of breaks, locks and keys, knowledge of locks and keys, knowledge of striking the places of malice, such as eyes, temple, throat, flank, groin, knowledge of dislocations, and knowledge of throws.
Okay, so we're going to have you demonstrate some of the plays of Abazari. Miguel, volunteer. So what we're going to see, I hope, is the first 6 plays of grappling, and then we'll do just a little bit of free play. So, Miguel, if you want to give him a neck grab.
So once you have one hand on, the first thing you need to do is stop the incoming fist, and then go to longa and behind the shoulder in order to rotate the shoulder up. This is the first play. The second play follows up, going from here to boar's tooth, behind the elbow, at which point then you can take the locked arm and rotate to the right in order to break the arm or throw it into the ground. If in the event that the opponent bends his arm, now I can no longer do the arm lock. I need to go to the third play, where I come up and over the arm, straight to the face and or the neck, as well as stepping at the same time around behind his leading leg, so that now I can break his tassel from his elephant and shear him around to the ground. If, however, my opponent steps back with the right leg, so I can no longer, with my leg behind him, I need a different point to push the pivot point. And he's changed his inside to the other direction, so his triangle is now back behind him on the other side. In this case, I need to take my hand down below his belt, right around to his tailbone, and then shear him to the opposite direction. If he steps again, now I need to change my hand to the opposite side in order to be able to shear him around to the other triangle. The sixth play is the universal counter, pushing the elbow. So, if my opponent attempts to push my face, or do anything where I can press the elbow, I push the elbow to gain the outside.
And then what?
And then I can come in and do any number of dangerous things to him.
Okay, well, let's see some of it. So you got a little bit of just free plays, trying to get grabs. So Aaron, your job is to demonstrate what you can and to wrestle safely. Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone want anything they want to see fits on this Scholler test? Aaron?
Yeah, would the third plane work equally well if you, regardless of what leg you brought in? So you brought in the right leg for the third plane, could you bring in the other one?
So, to make sure that I understand correctly what you're saying,
Yep.
I've come up, this hasn't worked. Come across, that hasn't worked. You step back. And you're asking if it would work equally well here?
Yeah, could you bring in both legs?
Reset,
Third
he
play.
said the third play.
Third leg.
So you're right there.
Okay? So, come up and then over here.
Yeah.
Okay, so here, if I can't get my leg in behind him,
Uh-huh.
I cannot push his castle off his elephant. I need to, if I don't have that point,
Yeah.
I need to get another point.
So my question was just, could you use either leg to get there, what you just did, so.
I have not trained this specifically, but I'm
Okay.
curious to see if this would work. And it looks like it would. Because we're trapping that leg so he can't step back, and then pivoting, pushing him back to that corner.
Yeah, no, that's fine, you have to hit contact, so that was my question.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks again. All right. Ross, do you have another question?
The triangles of which you speak. What
Yes.
does this mean?
So, with our typical stance, we have a square composed of two triangles. So if we have a line going through our feet, there's a corner of one square at the front, or one of the triangles at the front, one at the back. These are the points at which we need to push our opponent in order to break his elephant off of his castle off of his elephant, his shoulder, head from his shoulder from his hips, in order to be able to throw him to the ground. So if someone switches their stance, their triangles are now in the opposite direction. If I pushed along this direction here, no matter how big I was, I would have an extremely difficult time pushing him over because his structure isn't aligned. I need to push perpendicular to that line or through to the two different parts of the triangle.
Aaron, could you just grab a dagger? Dean, you're our dagger man. Okay. So, Aaron, could you show us the post dagger?
Yes. 6 posts of dagger are iron gate double, iron gate crossed, iron gate with dagger, iron gate doubled with dagger, iron gate crossed with dagger.
Okay. All right. You can do the dagger. Okay, so I guess what I'd like to see at the beginning is just a defense from all of, no need to give us any verbal feedback, just if you want to start pendente and work your way around. Yeah, just You just go around a couple times. You just make your defense to start with there. Okay, so what you're gonna need to do is show us various techniques. So why don't we do it first? Continue around the clock, and I would like to see you do a disarm from each of those 4 angles.
Good.
Okay, yeah. How about a key from each?
Same one.
Good. We went all over. Yeah, let's do them all one more time. Okay, if I ask you to do a middle key, you can set G up.
Throw the G up in the records.
Okay, and a strong lower key. Okay. And we need to see you do something with a straight arm. So taking advantage instead of a bent arm, taking advantage of a straight arm. Okay, Gene? You can just do these around the clock again, actually. Okay? Let's do another round of those. Okay. Do you know any other throws from a reversing?
Yes. Any more?
Okay. And how about another throw from Madrido? Know another one? Okay. What's the key to making that one work?
The back of the hand, tight to the back of the head, pulling the arm straight, hip contact, and then pivoting to the left.
Good. Any other techniques someone would like to ask about?
Just a context question. When did you choose to go from a disarm to a key to a throw?
If I was given a bent arm, I'd try for a key. If I was given a straight arm, I'd try for a lock. And depending on distance, if I was in closer, then I would try to go for a throw.
Okay. Excellent. Thanks, Gene. All right. Aaron. You need to show it back.
Oh, excellent.
Other Aaron. Oh, actually, Aaron, hold on. We'll see some poster stuff first. Right. Okay. Could you show us the always poster when you're using your sword in one hand?
We go to tail, and we're using sword in one hand.
Okay. And can you show us all the other poster with 2 hands, please?
Boar's tooth, middle iron gate, iron gate, tail, woman, window, bicornal, longa, window, woman, frontale, breve.
Okay. Can we just see you do some, using your footwork and doing some post to post like we do all the time? Earlier in the test, you talked about the strikes of the sword. Would you be able to just demonstrate to us all of the cuts and the thrusts of the sword?
So we have pendente from teeth to knees on the right or on the left. Teeth to knees signify the target as well as the angle. We have menzane, a horizontal cut on the left or on the right, which the target is eyes to elbow. We have satani, a rising cut on the left or on the right. Target is knees to teeth. Then we have the cruel and deadly thrust, which I believe the target is throat to groin.
Okay. Can you show us a combination? You can just show us those cuts? Yes. Okay, Aaron. So, could you take your post sword in one hand? And Aaron, can you just deliver pendente? Yeah. Good. And can you deliver a thrust, please? One more. At this point, anyone else have anything? Across?
Can you tell us about blade engagements?
Yes, there are 4 types of blade engagement. We have a deflection where my blade comes very similar to his angle. It bounces off of the blade to deflect the angle which this blade is attacking to pass me, while simultaneously coming in to strike my opponent. We have a beat where my blade comes in perpendicular to his to beat it out of the way. So now the line is open for me to come in to attack. We have a bind where my blade comes up edge on edge with his. I have less advantage in this scenario, but I've stopped myself from being hit, and from here either one of us can enter into place. And then in the case of, let's say, a satani or a leg strike, I can void the attack entirely and choose not to engage. And of course, in the philosophy of staying safe, I would want to go to a breve anyway. The principle would be to void the attack so that you're not being hit, and then to follow through.
Anybody else? Okay, Aaron, so there are 2 main sections of the longsword plays. What are they?
The 2 main sections of the longsword plays are the largo and the stretto sections. The largo section is looking at the left foot forward in a wider distance, and the stretto section has the right foot forward so that you can enter into the left, and it's a closer distance.
Okay. So let's see some Chaco Largo. How the very first play? Can you? How should we do this? Aaron, you can deliver. You can either be finding hard, trying to go through, or stopping in the middle. And Aaron, you just try and make the appropriate response. Okay? So we're gonna Can you, if you just want to deliver some pendantes, Aaron, and can you show us whatever other Largo plays that you know? Okay, how about Polka Galano? So Aaron deliver nicely. Okay, good, stop. Any other requests before we move to Strato? No?
There's also the hit to the leg and the exchange of thrust.
Okay, let's see those then before we go.
Then the exchange of thrust, where I can either exchange of thrust, or if I'm too slow in time, I can break the thrust. And from here, you can follow up and step on the blade and cut up under the beard. And if Aaron comes up to window, then from here I can come in and throw him to the ground.
What if I don't have a beard?
I'll have to be friend with the
Then you're
help.
safe.
You're not a man.
Then you're safe. He has to leave.
Well, you should not be bad.
That's just crazy talk.
I think you should leave.
Okay, let's see some Jocko Strato then. So stop for a second. So Aaron, what makes it a strato play? What is when the incrostada happens, what is the appropriate footwork?
I should have my right foot forward, which I believe I forgot on the last
Yeah,
play.
let's see them done that way then. Probably works a lot better right here. Okay, so we can just deliver the blows. You just, this time, okay? Keep going. Strato plays. Earlier you tried to do something with the pommel. Can we see them done with this footwork? Again. Okay. I think we're ready to move on. So does anyone have any questions at this point before we suit up?
Have you seen Dagger replay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Before we go there, I want one quick question.
Gene wants to say.
What's the very first play of the long story? Describe what's happening. And you don't have to go into great detail, just keep it simple.
In the very first play of long sword, your opponent can go to or through. You don't need to have a duality of mind to be able to let your sword either go through and hit, or come around behind so that you can step to the left and hit. And to let the sword do what it wants to do.
Okay, and that's because we're kind of a blade engagement?
Because we're doing a deflection.
Okay. All right, Gene.
Sorry about that, Jane.
Yeah, I guess put on your mask.
Do you want to do,
Until he disarms me?
Well, let's just see you deliver attacks. And so, Aaron, your goal is number one.
not to get stabbed.
Okay, good. And after that, then it's to try whatever plays you think you might be able to get from there.
If the
Okay?
opportunity is there.
Good.
Remember, we came to discussion.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Okay, so scholars who intend on fencing with longsword, and Aaron, please get all of your equipment on and ready, so we'll have a short break while everybody gears up. And
Before we break the circle, does anybody have any other questions, anything else they want to see the candidate do or perform or say? No? All right, so let's reconvene here in 10 minutes, ready to fence.